Hi everybody, thanks so much for joining me today. My name's Christy and I just want to give you a tour of my mixed media piece. I've been working on this for a couple months and it is part of a correspondence course through the Embroidery Guild of America, Embroidery with Mixed Media by Laura Smith. So I wanted to give you a tour of this before I send it off to Laura to, I don't know, grade and judge. I don't quite know how it works. It's actually my first correspondence course. But I'm really proud of how it turned out. And I kind of want to go through the different media that are a part of this and talk about, what my goal is after this. I don't know. There are 4 different techniques that were in the course. And I also have some embroidery and some applique and some other things. So let's talk about it. The first skill I learned was how to make fabric out of orts, and that's what this right here is. And let me go in a little closer so you can see here this kind of white splotchy fabric is made out of orts. And orts, for those who don't know, are the little pieces of of thread and yarn that are left over after a project. And so essentially what you do is you take a water-soluble stabilizer, and in this case I used Super Solvy. It is clear, looks like that, and it washes away with water. So what you do is you put orts and you lay a layer of the sulky, the stabilizer. You put your orts, put another stabilizer, and then you free sew over it with the sewing machine. So that didn't go quite as planned, and I don't know if you can see. We'll zoom back in a bit. If you see sort of right here, it really kind of bunched up. So this whole section here, some pieces over here. Basically, I couldn't keep a good tension, and so the front looked fine, but the back, oh, here's a major one, but the back did this. Now, I was going for somewhat chaos. I decided that I liked how that looked with sort of the chaoticness of it, and I used the backside for this piece. And then I just embroidered some and put some French knots and some bullion knots on it just for more texture. Once you have it all kind of sewn together with the machine, then you soak it in water, get rid of all the stabilizer, and then you're good to go. That's my first technique. My second technique was working with Tyvek. And Tyvek is a really interesting material that you can buy in sheets, and they are just white sheets. It's made by DuPont, and it's used for all sorts of things. It's used for wrapping houses, for waterproofing houses that are being built. It's used in hazmat suits, but you can also buy 8.5 by 11 or letter size sheets in the US for crafting. And a lot of origami artists use Tyvek apparently, because it's more reliable and sturdy than paper, but it folds like paper. But for our purposes, when you hit it with heat, either an iron or a heat gun, it makes these great textures, so it bubbles up. So this mountain here, this is actually 2 pieces, and this grass is Tyvek. And what I did was I painted it with an acrylic paint. And for this one, for the grass, I cut strips out of it and hit it with a heat gun and an iron, and the same with this as well. But you can see here, I've done a little experiment with Tyvek, and here's the back of one and another one. And then this one is kind of the opposite, and I only painted one side. So these are also pieces of Tyvek that have been painted and then hit with heat. I really like how these turned out. The grass I like really well. And I had to hit it with a heat gun. The heat gun kind of shrivels it up a bit more, and then you can flatten it out before it cools off completely. The mountains, I used the iron because I didn't want it too bubbly. I just wanted it kind of, you know, textured. And I don't know if you can see, I'll zoom in. But I just did running stitches in purple and silver throughout the whole thing just to give it texture. And then down here, I just did some strands of, I did a chain stitch to add sort of more color, more kind of texture. And then I did a light grasses throughout. So that was my second technique. My third technique was using Angelina Fibers, and that is all of this kind of sparkly stuff here, and also the wings of the dragonfly. So these are two different kinds of Angelina Fibers. The background, the sunset or sunrise, depending on when and where you are these like, they're just fibers. They're Angelina Fibers. They're basically this stuff cut really fine. And they just look like fibers. And you can buy a whole bunch of them. So here in my collection that I only used, I didn't use most of them actually. But I got these on Etsy, and I will put the link down below to where I got them. The Tyvek I just got on Amazon, and the Sulky I also got on Amazon. But I'll put links to all of it down below. So that, essentially what you do is you put it on a piece of parchment paper, you sprinkle these on, you put another piece of parchment paper on top, and then you iron them lightly because they fuse to themselves and become really sparkly. So you can see how sparkly this is. But if you hit them for too long, and if it's too hot, then it burns them, and then they're not sparkly anymore. I don't know if I have a spot on here. I think there's a spot kind of underneath here that got hit a little too long, and it just kind of turns gray. I wish I had something to show you of what it looks like. I was playing around with it, but I don't have it out here. For the dragonfly, that's actually a sheet of Angelina fiber, and so this is what that sheet looked like that. This also comes in colors, and I believe I got this on Etsy as well. Yeah, this is Angelina Fusible Film. Oh, Angelina Fibers, these Angelina Fibers, you can get them fusible and non-fusible, and the non-fusible is often used in spinning wool, so it adds sparkle to spun wool. But back to the Angelina sheets, when you hit them with heat, they kind of curl up on themselves. And I thought that would be a perfect little, wing, a perfect little wing. They crumple up in various ways. Pretty crumpled one. So I will kind of zoom in on my dragonfly so you can see how sparkly he is. So that is the third thing that I learned, is how to use heat sparkly fibers. And then the final thing I learned was how to transfer images using an acrylic gel medium. So I used a couple different ones, but I'm just going to show you this one. This is the Golden Clear Leveling Gel. I also used a thicker matte paste, and let me go get that. Here's the matte paste. It's a soft matte gel, and this, hold on, and this, when you open it, is very pasty. It's not runny at all. It's pasty, and it dries matte and kind of cloudy clear. This one is a gel that's much runnier, and this dries clear and glossy. And essentially what you do is you take a inkjet image, you put this on top in layers, let it dry, and when you can use water to take off the paper, and then the image should stay. And if you see, here is the matte and here is the glossy. And I made the glossy ones thicker than the matte ones I like it thicker better, I think. And then I just put some French knots in the middle, and these are flowers. And the final thing I had to do with the gel was to cover an embroidery in order to protect it. So I chose this dragonfly. I embroidered this dragonfly a while ago. I embroidered it on a gray chiffon. And so it was very delicate, and I was planning on using it for something, but I didn't know, and I thought this would be perfect. So essentially you just put the acrylic medium on and let it dry, and then it preserves it and makes it nice and shiny with some texture. And then I just sewed the wings on top. So that's how that worked. Some other things I did was I put some embroidery in the sun area. I don't know if you can see. I have a, in the center I have the circle, and then I have radiating out some other lines. And then I did some fabric applique with this tweed, this purple tweed. I thought would make a really nice mid-ground for the Purple Mountains. And I just did some stitching with the same color on that fabric. And I think the last thing for me to do is initial it. I have a very specific way that I initial my my pieces that I don't really do for my cross stitches necessarily, although sometimes I do. I always do it in gold. And it's not always graceful. And this stuff is really difficult to stitch with, to be perfectly honest with you. There we go. Now it's done. So this is my mixed media piece, and I really, really love it. So I need to take it off the frame, put it in. I bought some 2.5 gallon bags, wrap it up carefully in a box, and send it off to one of the Carolinas. I don't remember which one. But I hope you enjoyed this tour of my mixed media piece. I'm not sure that I love these flowers or that I love the dragonfly on this piece, but for now it's good, and it's good enough for it follows the directions of the class basically, and it's good enough for what I want, and I'm pretty pleased with it. So thanks for hanging out with me and watching watching me discuss this piece. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll try my best to answer them, and I will put all the links to all of the materials that I used in the description box down below. This is just stitched on a navy blue linen that I had in stash. And the frame, let me just flip this over for you. Here's the back, and the frame is just a cheap, it's sort of makeshift. It's just a cheap canvas that I got from Michael's that I ripped the canvas off of. I pulled out all the staples, and I just used thumbtacks to stick my pieces on. So that's where we are, and I'll let you know how it I'll let you know my grade. I'll let you know how it goes. So that's it from me. Thanks so much for watching. Please take good care of yourselves and have a good one. Bye.